My friends! So, after watching people being slaughtered, tortured, and raped, relishing the journey into darkness, how about a special treat? A free heaping scoop of ice cream. Knowing how spoiled and ungrateful y'all can be, why not enjoy 3 different flavors of ice cream on a single cone? Now, the best thing about Rick's ice cream is when you have a taste, you tend to forget a horrible world where God is a comedian, Satan is man-made, Jesus came back as a cult leader, and somebody is poisoning the ice cream. Rick's Sweets makes all the bad thoughts go away as you rot away in hell with a smile on your face, bringing sweetness to the world of misery and suffering. Today is 3 flavors of life: strawberry, plain old vanilla, and sweet chocolate. And the gentleman you see will be the one giving you these 3 different stories. 3 choices with 3 different outcomes, and an ending that will have you questioning your own lives, the decisions you make, and a better understanding of yourself. Introduction: Jerry. Wait a minute, Jerry is the guy you guys killed on that telethon special. I guess we'll call this guy Mark, the definition of a good man that nobody has any care for, the perfect guinea pig for your twisted form of entertainment. And Mark here will be giving us 3 scenarios of unremitting horror called reality, when choosing to take the long way home by going left, or straight ahead, or making a right. A fairy tale that I find amusing is the love story. Human nature acting out in a ritualistic way with unrealistic expectations, and carrying the notion that we were put on this mudball to create monotonous fairy tales. Boy meets girl, they fall in love, get married, have a few kids, and dying off of old age, living happily ever after. Our expectations of love and happiness, like a distasteful Disney film. But let's be honest, that's not how it really goes. And that's Mark's strawberry story, a moment where his delicious ice cream would be knocked from his hand and spilt onto the floor when him and a woman accidentally bumped into each other. Sadness being overtaken with that strange, warm, fuzzy feeling, the day where Mark and Karen met for the first time. Love at first sight. From then on, our couple enjoyed each other's company at the fanciest restaurants with delicious ice cream, sharing terrible stories, getting to know each other with connections, vibes, chemistry, nights of romance, lovebirds who couldn't resist the temptation of desire and touch after a few more dates, a tale of romance, passionate nights, love-making, living under a single roof. Then comes the big day, the happiest moment of one's romantic life, marriage. Man and wife, the happy wedding of Mark and Karen, who are now husband and wife. Isn't this the journey we yearn for, the life that we all desire? With Mark getting a promotion, a decent pay raise, a new home around the corner, and the beginning of a family. A path of happiness for Mark and Karen, as our loving couple brings a child into this world, relishing the joys of parenthood. My dear friends, I think many of us are fully aware of the horror of this story, because that's not how it works when you're in hell. I think many of us are fully aware of the lingering terror when things are too perfect. There will come a moment that will justify our anxiety and dread when things seem too good to be true, that what we are now seeing is an act of cruelty, and why God is one hell of a comedian. The happy life of Mark and Karen are just as equally tragic as that fidgety fellow, Jimbo, and his love for rainbow sprinkles after losing his lover to an overdose, who happens to be another Karen. Now, make no mistake, Mark's a good man, a rare breed who's faithful and devoted, not the type of man who will make a decision that will put a scar or dent on this strawberry life. But even good men are not exempt from the temptation to do evil. Remember, folks, when you're living in a life of happiness, it's just a matter of time before the cruel, unforgiving hand of God takes it all away, and you're now facing difficult choices between good and evil. Just like the day when Mark and Karen woke up at 2 a.m, finding their infant child screaming with blood coming from his mouth. the painful experience of being in the hospital waiting room, the immense weight of anxiety, fear, prayers going unanswered, time slowing down, making every minute as agonizing and torturous, only for our couple to be rewarded with something that had ultimately tarnished Mark's life of happiness when the doctor would bring the traumatizing news. Boy meets girl, they fall in love, become man and wife, they have a child, only to have it all taken away by a strange illness, or perhaps it was the poison in the ice cream. Now, all that's left of Mark's strawberry life is the broken remains of a silly fable. A mother who lost her will to exist. Living is now painful for Karen, too afraid to pursue a life of happiness, knowing how God can take it all away again. Happiness is but a cruel joke. Life is hell. Life is hell. And Mark, out of love, who can't move forward without Karen, who can't just move on and give that strawberry life another try with someone else, like most people would. Except, Mark's a good man. Out of love, Mark chooses not to do evil, and for that, he's now suffering in this strawberry life. Life is hell for Mark. Of course, I don't think Mark's the kind of man who would leave his beloved Karen behind. I would say Mark is a man who would take the straight path and lead a vanilla life. It wasn't until a couple blocks before Mark's life would change forever when happening upon a puppy in an open field with a wound on its paw, and Mark looking around trying to find out where the puppy came from. Perhaps it had injured itself when running out of somebody's yard. Or perhaps Mark was seeing if anyone was watching before tossing the ice cream aside and grabbing the dog. Immediately, Mark took the puppy to the local vet to have its wound looked at and bandaged, giving the vet a fabricated story and claiming ownership of the dog. And well, that's how Trip Titch came into Mark's life. And from that day forward, Mark and his new friend were always together. Trip Titch was such a good dog. Loyal, obedient, playful. I would say that Trip Titch may have been the best thing that ever happened in Mark's life. Because of Trip Titch, Mark was no longer lonely. Life never felt like a struggle for Mark when knowing that there was someone who was always there by his side. As I said, Trip Titch was such a good dog. And boy, did Mark enjoy spoiling Trip Titch with strips of bacon. Even when taking Trip Titch a walk through the local park, there was always this guy at the park playing a guitar. Sometimes he would sing a tune or something. Bud Hickey, used to be something of a singer back in the days, even though the guy seemed concentrated, frustrated, as if he was trying to figure out a new song, but just couldn't get it out. It was nice to hear some good old-fashioned vanilla while walking Trip Titch through the park. But it was on one day when Mark's vanilla life would happen upon an unexpected situation, when finding a poster that said "Lost Dog," with a picture of Trip Titch. Like I said, Mark's a good man. And sometimes, folks, a good man may find himself making difficult decisions. Good, evil, it was about making the best decision. And well, it was reckless, but Mark didn't want to risk losing the greatest thing that ever happened to him, which is why the following week he decided to pack up and move out of the city. And why not? Why not leave everything behind and go forth with Trip Titch? It's not like Mark has any friends or future in the city. Why not go somewhere far away and start a new life? And well, that's what Mark did when managing to buy a secluded house in a remote area. The beginning of a new chapter for Mark and Trip Titch, where him and Trip Titch can live out their vanilla lives, peacefully and happily. As I said, Mark is the example of a good man. And well, folks, if you haven't learned anything from today's tale of terror, hopefully this next journey will make things more clear when Mark decides to go right and show us the sweet spot. Mark's a good man because he chooses to do good. And just because he chooses to do good doesn't mean he's not capable of doing evil. It's a fact that Mark has an evil within him, a core that is just as equally rotten and vile as the chocolatey taste of his triple scoop ice cream. And some of us are very true to our nature. We choose our own paths. Either we reap the spoils or suffer the consequences. But we choose to do evil because we can, and we simply cannot exist without evil. And when you're in hell, my friends, you can control your own lives, or you can choose to be the one who suffers. Ever heard of bad things happening to good people? What if I were to tell you that Mark isn't a good man, but him choosing to do good would come with consequences? Like when he was making lunch after coming home and noticing movement in the carton of eggs. One of the eggs hatching, and Mark being greeted by a hideous little creature. A strange occurrence in his life. Confusing, a bit scary that there was a living bird in his carton of eggs. So, did Mark kill the disgusting little creature, put it out of its misery, inflict some animal torture by frying it? Oh, come on. There's no shame in exerting some sadistic curiosity on a defenseless animal. Remember Roscoe, the defenseless dog you guys wanted to kill? No, Mark just wrapped the bird in a cloth and took it to the local animal shelter. And how disappointing. Mark's final chance to prove himself, and he failed. My friends, there is an evil within you. Something awful, vile and disgusting, yearning to be let out. Shouldn't be that confusing seeing how we're all born with it. Unlike that cowboy you see sitting on the bench, the one who likes whispering poison into people's ears, telling people that if they choose to do good, greatness will come and that consequences is just hardship. But it doesn't work like that, doesn't it? Which begs the question, why bother making good decisions when we all know that bad things can happen to good people? Mark is a good man because he chooses to do good, and who doesn't deserve what's yet to come after he was suddenly kidnapped when making his way back home. I just want you to know, Mark doesn't deserve any of this. Being kidnapped and tied up to a chair in his underwear where nobody can hear his screams, pleas, and prayers. He doesn't deserve what's yet to come, and nobody cares, not even God. Just like nobody cares about you. Despite your prayers, your devotion, you'll just be watched like you're watching Mark here. You can be like Mark and think that God is going to somehow intervene because of all the goodness you did, that cops are going to find your location and take down your kidnapper, only to realize that nobody's coming for you, and accept the reality that you're a good man in hell, who's about to experience the greatest form of reality for people's entertainment. Mark's kidnapper, a man with a dark gray suit, wearing a bird's mask, who just rammed a kitchen knife into Mark's left leg, and just stood there, watching Mark squirm and move in pain, weeping so pitifully. Watching this good man bleed out like a stuck pig, before taking off and leaving Mark to himself. Mark's sweet story, bleeding to death while you folks just sit there, enjoying his suffering. Moral of today's tale of terror is that you, my friends, have a power within you. What makes you special, unique, is the choice to do good and evil. You are the dictators of your story. You are the authors of your own journey. You have a power to conquer or be conquered. Like Jimbo and Karen, who chose to follow the rainbow sprinkles. Or Joel, who chose to leave his own strawberry life behind and relished all the wonders and joy before withering away in depression. Or even you, yes, you, when choosing to watch Jerry die off and kill a defenseless dog for your own entertainment. It's you, my friends, who have the power to pursue a silly fable and slowly rot away, or to achieve your happiness or suffer the consequences when denying to use that gift. And I think we all know that if you were to see the choices in your life and know the outcome of your decisions, you would see the importance of the evil within you. Evil is good. Evil is happiness. You have options. You have that power. Just like you chose to watch people suffer in these stories and tell yourself, they're fictional characters. Meaningless people I have no care for. Maybe you want more. You want blood, guts, gore, torture, rape. And guess what? It's all there for you. You have the power to enjoy all that. Good people, bad people, people suffering and hurting for your entertainment. Just so you can have those moments where you know what it's like to be God and Satan when looking down on humanity. Reality? You're just fictional characters of no importance. You're in hell, creating your own heaven by making evil choices. So my friends, be true to your nature. One way or another. One way or another.